Oh, hey. I'm sorry, I was distracted watching my latest video coming out on Wednesday about deflate compression. Don't miss it. Hello, everybody. Well, today we are going to read the entirety of this research paper on the tugged architecture. Just like you wanted. I know you've been wanting this. You've been wanting it for a while. Yesterday I was saying I don't want to read this whole thing, and you were like, I really wanted him to read it, but he just won't do the logical, entertaining thing. Well, worry not. For today, that's what we're gonna be doing. Obviously fucking not. We're not gonna be doing that. I just left that open. Today we're gonna be implementing a lot of these things. Well, I don't know how much of this we're actually gonna implement, but in yesterday's stream, oh, you got excited? I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry. I actually was watching my latest video because I like to review them before I actually publish them. But it's 42 minutes. So there's not going to be a stream on Wednesday, but there is going to be a new video. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be on YouTube only. I don't think I can stream it to Twitch. Nah, probably not. Let's not waste time doing that also. Will you actually write some stuff in Rust? That is a good question. No, that was a joke. I said I was gonna rewrite the entire operating system in Rust. Not gonna do that. I'm honestly not even, like, again, I'm not even opposed to Rust as a language. It's just that, like, the Rust evangelists, the fucking Rust witnesses knock on your door and they're like, do you have a minute to talk about our Lord and Savior Rust? Make you really not want to touch the damn thing. It's just like, no, I don't. I'm sorry, I'm not home. Sorry, I don't speak English. Sorry, no, I'm actually a Satanist. Or, sorry, I'm actually a Satanist, I guess. Like, spelled like Satanist, you know? Because I code in C, obviously. Isn't that so clear? The hype for Rust will end, while C probably won't end for a long time. See, C can't really end. Because C is just so simple that unless you change like what are you doing? Why are you going to the bathroom? Come here. No, the bathroom is for humans. Like, you did take a shower today, but that was not, besides that. The bathroom is for humans. I don't want you learning how to use the toilet. I'm talking to my dog, in case it wasn't clear. C is a nice abstraction above assembly. So two things can happen. Either we come up with D, and so we'll all stop using the C, and we'll all get acquainted with the D, and we'll start using D for everything. And I'm running out of D jokes here. I couldn't really come up with a good one. Also, I'm pretty sure D is an actual programming language, so I guess we would come up with E. Yeah, it's an actual programming language. Or we're going to continue using C, because it is a nice abstraction on top of assembly, but it doesn't add all the extra cool stuff that other languages add, but at the same time, it's extra complexity. If you want to have as little complexity as possible, you can use assembly and just hate yourself, or you can use C and, you know, be a little bit of a masochist, but not really hate yourself. No, I'm not carrying you anymore. We're not doing that anymore. No, not even if you look at me like that. Get on the bed. No, get on. Get out. I don't know how exactly, but get out became like his go-to word for him to do what I want him to do, whatever it is. It's always get out, and he just gets it. So sometimes he's on the bed, like really close to me, and I'm like, get out, and he goes to the corner of the bed. Sometimes he's on the corner of the bed, and I tell him get out, and he gets off the bed, but stays in the room. Otherwise, if I tell him again, he just goes out of the room. And in this case, when he's on the floor, he hears get out, and he knows that I'm telling him to get on the bed. He's both smart and dumb. What can I say about him? He's a good dog. Okay, I'm not sure what's happening with my camera here. Pretty sure the cable is too short. Or it's tangled up into something, I don't know. There's an F++ programming language. We're just gonna go through the entire African. It's African? Okay. What makes it African? Sure, we're gonna go through the entire, at the very least, like music scale when it comes to programming languages. There's B, there's C, there's D, there's C sharp. There's F++, so I'm sure there's gonna be F sharp at some point. I don't know about G, G sharp. Don't know about A or A sharp. And we're missing D sharp. Wait, where does it say built-in AI state? What? There's E? Alright, so we've already got most of our musical notes covered. I feel like the sharps are lacking a little bit, but I'm sure Microsoft's on it. Features of this programming language. Okay, already better than Julia in the fact that you can just see the damn thing, or what it looks like, although it's screenshots. I'm pretty sure this is pretending to be a Mac. This is not a real Mac. It has the same indicators, but they're like in the middle of the bar. And then the file edit and format doesn't really go here. So it goes up here. Yeah, you can see this part of the screen. So it goes up here on the Mac. So it's either like a Linux distribution that's inspired by the Mac, or just like pretending to be a Mac. It's just wore a Mac costume for Halloween. There's J. All right, no. Oh, overdone. I was saying musical notes or hexadecimal letters. Either one, you pick which one, except musical notes actually have sharps, so. Okay, but the features of this programming language are a C++-like syntax, absolutely fucking amazing. GUI programming, cool. API integration with the IBM Watson. Cool. You can create Twitter bots. Cool. It's got built-in AI statements. Cool. So you can predict the population of a country. You're predicting the population of a country. I mean, I guess that makes sense. You know what else you could predict? Stock price. Except, you know, that would be a really stupid idea. But there's probably people doing it. There's the entire alphabet in programming languages, most likely. Probably, I think. You can get the stock price of a country. I'm a little bit familiar with the stock market, but not that much. Is there such a thing as the price of a country on the stock market? I know you can buy like bonds and stuff like that, but that's not the same as buying stock into a country, right? Is that a thing that you can do? Can I just like buy the fucking United States if I have enough money? Like maybe I can buy like the Vatican. I don't know. I don't have enough money to buy even a fucking home in the Vatican or anywhere. But there's GDP. Yeah, that's GDP is a different thing. Now I'm talking about, it says here the stock price of a country. And then under that it says the GDP of a country. But here it says the stock price of a country. So is this actually just AI generated? Here's your answer. Also, to be fair, every time I see something that's like a little bit stupid or mistaken, I just say like it's AI generated. 90% of the time I'm right, but it doesn't mean I'm always right. There's a language where you can write code in just characters? What do you mean? Normally you type with character. I don't know what you're typing with. If you're using hieroglyphics or what? Are you using emoji? There's probably an emoji programming language, by the way. But you normally use characters. They just added a bunch of APIs to this damn thing, and they call it a programming language. Electricity data. Get the molar mass of a compound. That's chemistry, my dude. Oh, it's also chemistry. Okay, it's both chemistry and electricity. Emoji programming language. I know we saw one created by a big corporation. I don't remember which one. That is an AI programming language. Big fucking shocker. And the extension was the fire emoji. I think it was called Mojo. Yeah. This one. One language, any hardware, Pythonic syntax, system level performance. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Any hardware in this case actually just means like it runs on CPUs and it runs on GPUs, but NVIDIA and AMD GPUs, which are not any hardware. Okay, it says and more, but did they remove the statement that they're faster than C? I know in the early days they claimed that nonsense. They said they were faster than C? Sure. Let's request a demo for this. Use case. I need a good laugh. Standard. Okay, I'm not actually doing that. Yeah, GPU calculations are used in LLMs because they're parallel. It's what made NVIDIA stock actually go so freaking high. But that seemed like a whole lot of hype and nonsense. That tends to be the case. Back to the F++ programming language. Shutterstock right here. Just FYI. This one's just straight up missing. What about? But it's the first African programming language. Is it really? Because no one in Africa created a compiler. I don't know about that. Here's F#. Succinct, robust, and performant code. So it's really just the one website that doesn't have a code example anywhere on the damn website, and that's Julia. That's the only one. Does the AI statement pull an AI response during compilation? I'm assuming during runtime. Although I will say one thing about F++. Whoever created it, the first African to create a programming language, allegedly, took that title from Elon Musk. And he was never interested in creating a compiler. He probably cannot even write code. Well, maybe a little bit, I don't know. But the ego damage that has done to that man, if he even knew that this was a thing, is worth it. So, someone tell Elon about this. Just hurt him a little bit. Hi, Ice Storm. F#. Everyone just loves to say we're like Python. Every single fucking programming language is like, oh yeah, we're like Python. Yeah, our syntax, like Python. I'm almost immediately put off by a language when I see let for defining variables. It just feels so weird. Really? I don't know about that. Well, I'm used to Swift. And it's let for constants and var for the other thingy. The non-constants. The variables. Var for variables is what I meant. Here, can't really tell. Let me see if they have any. Is it Dark Reader that's fucking up the colors, or is that blue really their choice? No, it's off. So that's their choice. Hey, beginner OS dev, haven't gotten this question in a while. Let x be a real number between 0 and infinity. Right, math does use let. But that's a variable. That's the funniest thing, it's a variable here. Well, is it? No. It's a constant. Kind of, you know. Const for constants. Yeah, they probably should have used const. But I'm pretty sure you can do const let. No, maybe not. Yeah, probably not. I'm making that up. For beginner OS dev, I would suggest going to osdev.wiki or wiki.osdev.org, because this one is just a mirror of the original, wiki.osdev.org, and reading these articles over here. And then based on the type of, CPU that you want to go for, based on the type of thing that you want to build, you can find, it's a good starting point. Probably won't be using it to delve deep into specific topics, but there's that. Bye, MX. So there's those options to begin with. So this one, I don't think they're using let for constants like Swift does. What is up with the dock? Why does it stay here? Isn't it supposed to auto hide? F# is actually pretty good for the... Also, this new search is so shitty. Because look how long it took to actually show me what I was searching for. Whereas instead in Launchpad, the old one, it was so easy. I didn't know F# was actually like popular. Oh, this is actually not enabled. That's why it was never going away. All right, there we go. Okay, so we got, is A programming language? I'm not looking for a programming language. I'm looking for the programming language called A. Is that a thing? There's A.NET, there's A+, there's no A#, which is an actual node, so that's a thing. Sveltekit project, what is that? There's B. There shouldn't be a B#. There's C, there's C#. There's D. There's no D#. There's E. There's F and F#. There's no G and no G#. So we're okay. Y'all just need to come up with those few missing ones. APL, which stands for A Programming Language. Oh, so when I searched and it came up A Programming Language, that was an actual programming language name. Okay. I didn't even read what it was actually saying, so... Like here it says a set of instructions. So no, this is a definition of a programming language. And then, no, it doesn't actually show me that. Was there an A programming language? APL, A programming language. Yeah. There's E. Okay. Well, tonight we're programming in C. Good old C. We're doing some middle C programming today. 440 hertz. That's A, I'm pretty sure. Fuck, I don't know. $256. Oh shit! 256 hertz is middle C. Okay. Interesting. Quite fitting that C and the musical note and the programming language. Well, that. I don't know. Make your own programming language and then rewrite your OS in it. If there's no D sharp, I'm making D sharp. I'm sharpening the D. Alright, there's finally. I came up with a joke. How long have I been streaming? 27 minutes. I said it about 20 minutes ago. Finally, I came up with a proper joke. Kind of. Okay. Well, today we're programming, like I said, in 256 hertz or in C. Scientific pitch was originally proposed in 1713 by French physicist Joseph Savart as based on the numerically convenient frequency of 256 for middle C. All C's being power of 2. Really? Well, I mean, yeah, but then there's the decimals. 1635, 3270, 6541. That's close to 64, but not quite. 130 instead of 128. Hey, Stony. Oh, so you fucking lied to me. Or this chart is lying to me. Because it says 261. But we read that it was 256. But then again, yeah, it wasn't really standardized until recently. Okay, so middle C is actually 261.63. Damn it. Joseph Savart knew what he was doing. Yeah, it was standardized around that, 1939, I'm pretty sure. Before that, it was just like, yeah, it's slightly different. Which actually means that any music composed before that time, there's a chance that we're not exactly hearing it like it was supposed to be heard, if I'm not mistaken. Because I don't think we've accounted for the slight differences in pitch based on which standard or which, frequencies and tuning was being used by whoever composed it. It's not going to sound particularly different, but it's going to sound a little weird to us. Okay, well, we're not doing any of this today. Let's finally start with what I said I was going to start with. Yesterday, I drew up this kind of insane diagram in which I specified my plan for an architecture for my operating system to make it more modular, to make it add a few features that are missing, to make it distributed, maybe to make it a little bit better, a little bit more secure, a little bit more correct, a little less buggy. Okay. So for making it a little bit less buggy, I was talking about implementing some kind of testing, like unit testing, which would have to be done from scratch. I don't think there is a built-in QEMU testing framework. And I could probably find a library that can be used to write unit tests in C, but I feel like it would be more interesting to make my own. So there's that. If the whole thing is built from scratch, why would I use a library for this? But that's not what I want to do today. I also talked about how modules that are the different parts of the system can be separated from the system. That way, if you want to have your own modules, if you want to expand them, you want to add your own drivers to the modules, you can do that. I haven't really defined the details of if you can do it at runtime, you can do it when you're building the distribution of the system, or when you're building your own, like during installation. I haven't fucking decided. There's no installation right now. What is that sparkle button? Which sparkle button? Okay, what else? There is... I talked about maybe doing a bootloader, which could help with the setup for, you know, the modular system. Configuration effective after next start. Also, yes, could be done through configuration. And I also talked about inter-process communication, which is one of the options of what we could build today. Sparkle button. Is this fucking built into Firefox? This is built into Firefox. My god. Why does the damn browser need an AI chatbot? Oh my god. How do you close this thing anyway? Hide sidebar. Right, there we go. Ah. Wonderful. We're gonna end up using fucking Internet Explorer Legacy Edition at this point to be rid of fucking AI. I'm just gonna end up having to make my own browser inside of Redacted OS that doesn't use JavaScript. That's a plan, by the way. It's a promise. JavaScript is not allowed on Redacted OS. You wanna make your website have cute little animations? Why? Don't waste my time. You don't need megabytes and megabytes of a website. Chrome has at least up to such AI buttons. 2 such AI buttons? I think it does actually. Okay, well, one of the options for today is inter-process communication, which is needed because the way that the system works right now, when a process resizes the window that it is in, which none of these do, I'm pretty sure. Well, that kind of. The window doesn't get resized with it. So that's a problem. This is actually a glitch. It's not the window actually being resized, but... oh yeah, there's gonna be CSS and there's gonna be HTML, but there's not gonna be JavaScript. You don't need JavaScript. Use PHP. Like a real programmer. Fuck JavaScript. The guy who created JavaScript is homophobic. Why would you use it? He said using Firefox, created by the... Well, actually, no, it wasn't created by the same guy. He was just CEO of Mozilla for 11 days before he was fired for being homophobic. So, kind of a win on their side. Okay, so one of the options is IPC, which would allow us to then do that resizing properly, as well as other things that you could do with IPC. And the other option is customization, coming up with a system of customization. Actually, this thing is mostly CSS and HTML. If I'm not mistaken, it does have some JavaScript. There's like a little bit of JavaScript, but not a whole lot. Let me see if I can find a source for it. I do think at some point I had to use JavaScript. Yeah. Wait, never mind. Yes, there is JavaScript to handle the whole like transition between the three animations that it has. So okay, it does have JavaScript. Forgot about that. But not that much. And then again, it's because it's three different animations running on the same HTML file. I'm sure I could have done it without JavaScript, and I probably should. That way, once I actually decide to do like HTML from scratch, you know that one's going to be a big hit. Then I'm not going to do JavaScript. Okay, so there's IPC and there's customization, which did I even draw any diagram for customization? I did not. Custom browser language feels like too much. Although I did tell the guy who did networking, if you want to remake TCP and make it like a proprietary, well, not proprietary, but like a redacted OS exclusive packet language, you are more than welcome to do so. But he never said anything about that, so sadly, not gonna happen. Or maybe it will, I don't know. I'll bring it up again some other time. Okay, so I think we're gonna do IPC or IPC today. And next time I can do some system customization, allow you to customize. Where are they? These options right here. So I'm actually just gonna quickly add them to the all of which will be done through the file system. Cool. Okay, but we're doing IPC today. We're doing IPC. Essentially, the way that IPC is going to work, kind of thought of it like a API type of thing. Except, like, what's the name of that? REST API type of thing, but with just, well, kind of get and post, I guess, in a way. But really, the way that it works is just with a file system. The way I kind of want to merge the two concepts so that you can have it via network as well. Not the best idea because the system is not super secure, but as long as you keep it within your home network, you should be fine. And, you know, I don't expect you to be able to access your bank's website through redacted OS anytime soon, so they probably won't steal the $2 that you have on there. No, not Rust API, REST API. The E is very important. What was that? The E is very important. The E is very important. All right. So, IPC. Essentially, the way that it will work is you can have, very generous to assume that my bank account is positive. I'm sorry, I don't really speak broke. I have $3 in my bank account, so yeah. I just don't speak broke like that. The way that it works is that a process can bind itself to a section of the file system in the same way that right now modules of the system, so these, can bind themselves to the file system. So for instance, our windowing system can bind itself to /window. And then you don't really care who's on the other side, which windowing system is being used. If it's the one that I'm creating and shipping with the operating system, or if you make your own, or if you download a third-party one, or whatever, doesn't really matter. your application just talks to the file /window/resize, and that's it. It just works. It just writes /window/resize. It writes two 32-bit values for width and height of the new window size, and that's it. Then the process that is bound to that will respond to that. So it binds to /window, and then when it receives a write request on /window, it automatically handles updating itself. Now the process also has its own like main execution like loop. What it does in the case of the windowing system, the way that it works right now is it just allows you to its functionality is really just limited to this. It takes the mouse position when you press, you drag, you let go, and then it creates a window when you do that. That's all of its logic. It's very simple. But the logic for resizing, so when it responds to a request on resizing, that will happen outside of that loop. The loop will simply detect the change and redraw the window. That's it. So in order to make this work, I'm going to need to refactor the way that the windowing system works so that it can have some data separate from its, current single function that creates windows, and instead just has like a single place where it keeps track of all the windows that are created and where they are and whatnot. So we'll slowly be adding support for multiple windows, which currently doesn't exist with this. Then the scheduled code is just gonna render when there's this dirty flag is marked. It is going to be like, oh, okay, I need to re-render the windows. And then when it receives a request, it will bind itself to window, respond to a specific resize, and resize. Okay, so it's two things. First is binding to the file system. Second is actually responding to the request or to the change being made. Now, binding to the system is already handled. Like I said, the file system is a virtual file system, so it already allows binding through modules. There are modules that can bind themselves to the file system. We can just extend that. We can just use those modules to bind a process. If I just remembered where that is, probably here. No, it's in dev driver base, which is no longer an accurate name, driver module. The name should really be system module, if anything. So I'm going to start by renaming that, but actually no, I'm not going to start with that. I'm going to start by pulling this change, because yesterday I had a picture of Doja Cat and she was feeling a little blue. Because the last thing that wasn't working on my PNG images is that blues and reds were swapped. And I had already fixed this once, so I went back to the stream and watched it to see how I fixed it. And then I found the issue. Now it's, oh, that's not Doja Cat, but it's working. The reason it was working when I fixed it on that stream, like 2 weeks ago, kind of, and it wasn't working yesterday, is that the image that was being used 2 weeks ago was a 24-bit image for which I applied that swap between red and blue. But this one is a 32-bit image. Both the picture of Jester that we just saw and this picture. Because both of them are created by my Mac, whereas the previous ones were created by GIMP. GIMP creates 24-bit images. The Mac, the Doja Cat thing was a screenshot, and then the Jester thing was created with Image Preview, which is the Mac like image viewer program. And they probably both internally use the same code, which also always generates a 32-bit PNG image. So I wasn't doing that swapping between the two colors for 32 bits. Now I am. So both Doja and Jester, both cat and dog, are now the right color. They're no longer blue. Okay, so that was a change I needed to import. Then I got a bunch of stuff going on here, which I probably should look at. Okay, I'm also doing all of this in a branch called command line because I haven't finished doing what's happening on this damn branch, which is I moved the cat command outside of the terminal. I mean, outside of the system itself. And what the hell is up with this terminal? It keeps breaking. Now, if you do this, cat just crashes. So I need to look into that a little bit. What's interesting is it shouldn't have crashed there, I feel like, but I'm not sure. Did you write two separate functions for 24 and 32-bit images? Essentially what I do is I keep track of the size that each image uses. So in the header, it tells you how many bits per pixel there are. And based on that information, what the hell is up with this cable? Based on that information, it... fuck's sake. It takes it and converts it to a 32-bit value. And when it does that, it does the swapping between red and blue because my system actually uses BGR, not RGB. Because then it makes it easier for me to write hexadecimal pixel colors. I can just write FF, RRGGBB. And because of endianness, that gets swapped to BGRF. So that color format is better. But it means that when I'm reading an image, I need to swap. Okay. So I'm looking a little bit at these changes that I've made. There's like a 1 second delay between the webcam feed and audio. Is it just you or is anyone else seeing that? Because there's a chance you might just need to reload the stream. Sometimes it glitches out like that, but it's really weird. And I was just messing with my camera, so I don't know if maybe I delayed the camera. You don't think it's happening for you, so... Alright. Maybe, yeah, you just need to reload the stream. Okay, so I'm just gonna commit what I have. Okay, and I'm gonna delete this. And I am going to make these commits. Okay, so first off, I moved theme, moved color team.h. Then sing a song. I think you can tell without me singing a song. Unless you tell me which song you want me to sing. You have to tell me that. You can't just say sing a song. You have to refresh? Okay, that makes sense. Did Twitch stream die? Did it? Fuck's sake. Because if it did, there's an ad starting in a minute instead of in 12 minutes, which was the normal amount. No, it didn't. It keeps saying that it's unstable because my bitrate is too high, but I don't know what's up with that. No, it didn't die. Maybe you just got the notification late. Okay, so that's one change that I made. Just very basic things. Then I changed the directory for audio, which, by the way, there is an open pull request for audio, so let me not do that right now. Who cares? Yeah, let me do that right now. Don't think it's going to be a big difference. The pull request is just going to have to remove 4 characters. Or maybe I'm gonna have to remove 4 characters because I'm not working on main. There's 2 pings for 3rd of November. Interesting. But no, it says that I've been live for 50 minutes. Or it said that a minute ago, now it's been 50 once. And it seems fine. So I don't think so. Okay. Those are, I believe, all the changes. There's this change here for removing the startup sound, because it's really annoying when you're building the system over and over and over again, making small changes to hear the ding every single time. You got an email from... Oh yeah, they email you when people are live. I removed that because it's really annoying to get an email every time. I like to get a notification. Guess the bot just sent it again for some reason. Glitchy emoji. OBS is not rendering the emoji correctly. Then this thing about disabling networking. That's just because networking, for whatever reason, doesn't work on this computer. Okay, so we're good. We're on a clean working tree, except we're not. We are. But a lot of those things are going to be done through configuration. So once we do customization, we can do that. Right now we're doing a system binding or process binding for that for IPC. That's the name of it. Some men shrugging emoji. Yeah, I figured. Okay, so I'm gonna limit inter-process communication, like the server part, the receiving part of it, to kernel processes for now. Because number one, I don't have to create a syscall for that. And number two, I don't know, feels safe. Why would a random application need it? They probably do need it, but for the time being, they don't. So I'm not gonna bother with a syscall for it. And not gonna lie, this is a little bit of an issue. I gave my system processes some names that I don't always remember. If I'm not mistaken, it's called DOS. It is. Yes, this is the one that does the mouse drawing, the window drawing, and later on it will be updated to, you know, keep track of where each window is and whatnot. But right now what it's gonna do is it's gonna bind itself to a place in the file system. There could be a kernel service for IPC. For that matter, I might just be able to... Okay, so like the kernel process can bind itself to window, right? Which is where I want it to bind itself. Why am I doing this in VS Code? It can bind itself to window, and maybe I can make it so that user processes have to bind themselves to user and then whatever they want. So a userland desktop application would bind itself to user window, or to user, I don't know, ghost game. If you want to communicate with a ghost game for whatever reason. So maybe I will allow them to bind also to the file system directly, but only in specific paths, because you don't want a random user application binding itself to like audio, then hijacking all the audio for the entire system. Although most likely there will already be a module for that loaded, but if there isn't, yeah. It's like combining joining characters. I guess OBS doesn't handle that. Yeah, OBS doesn't handle that most likely. There's actually a bug about that that's freaking out people on TikTok, because on TikTok there's currently a bug that also doesn't combine 2 characters into the correct emoji. And people saw it with the trans flag and they think that TikTok is censoring when really it isn't. It also happens with the pirate flag, so it's not censorship, it's just a bug. But TikTok users love to jump to conclusions. Okay. This is a kernel process. So for this one, I don't have to bother with syscalls. I don't have to bother with where to include from. And there's Jester giving his opinion. I don't think it's picked up by the mic, but every once in a while he just goes like, Okay, so it's in dev driver base. This is it. And we should be able to define a driver base, a driver module called the window module. We should be able to give it a value like so. And we should be able to initialize it with no initialization function, finishalize it with no finishalization function. Actually, no, it does need an initialization function, and we kind of need to give it that initialization function. So because it needs to return a 1. So it's actually not a void, it is a boolean. Let me see if I remember all the functions that I need to implement for this without looking it up. It's been a long time since I've written one of these. God damn it, don't suggest it. That's not helpful. All right, there is an open function. That's the first one, which there isn't one. There's a read function, which there isn't one. There is a write function, which there isn't one. There's a close function. No, there isn't. Okay, I probably should implement that one. I know there's also a read directory, which we're definitely not gonna have, because there's no reason for you to read all the windows that there are. At least there's no use case for that right now. There's seek. I haven't actually used this one, so I'm just gonna delete it. I'm just gonna get rid of that one. But I'm also gonna add a little note here to remind me to do close. Yeah, I never implemented those, so they're not needed. Read directory is mostly not implemented, but it is necessary, so it should be implemented. I just haven't bothered. Like I said, I want to refactor it a little bit, because the way that it works right now, the process that requests the memory, that requests the list of directories doesn't actually like own the memory that gets requested, so that's not really nice. Because then it's a question of who actually like frees the memory if the person that requests it doesn't own it. So I want to change that. All right, got rid of that. I just remembered I was supposed to rename driver module to system module before I did any of this, but oh well. Let's implement just the stubs for it and then do that. Where are we? We're in dust.c. Okay, and we need to implement an open, read, and write. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like having to open a file in order to write to it. I'm considering making a simple read, simple write that just takes a path and data and just writes to it. Is that a good idea? Essentially, besides the read and write that use a file descriptor, we can implement a simple read that takes a const char for the path takes a size of a buffer and takes a void pointer and then an sWrite function that works in the same way. I'm gonna test them out. Except how do you know which one? No, it should be fine. It should be fine. All right, but there is an ad on Twitch, so I'm gonna run that and I'll be back in 3 minutes. Enjoy the JavaScript powered thingy. We're back. Okay, so implementing inter-process communication, and to do that I'm doing it through the file system, but a lot of the file system is virtual. And when it comes to a virtual file system, you don't really need file descriptors because you're just sending a single message. You're just using it to message. So I'm creating this simple read and simple write functions that allow you to open a file, write to it, close the file. That's it. Or, read from it, close the file. When it comes to, this is technically available to any module in the system, which includes traditional files, and it also includes things where the file descriptor would be useful. Obviously it's up to me if I implement it or to whoever creates the module, because I do plan on allowing external modules, but it's up to you to implement either both read and simple read, write and simple write, or just implement one of the two. But again, let's just see. Maybe I'll just get rid of it. I'll think, okay, this is stupid, or realize that it's not worth it. So for now, just gonna create them. Hopefully that's not gonna create issues where I have to update every single definition of it. I do. Okay. So as write, initialize to 0 for most of these modules. As read, initialize to 0 for most of these modules. Although these actually could use a lot of these could benefit from this because they don't actually need a file descriptor. Well, no, audio does. Audio does because you want to keep a single line open. There's /bin, which also doesn't need it because this is part of the real file system. It's just implemented by this module. No sneezing today. The console module. See, writing to console is actually a perfect example of this because I actually have some reserved file descriptors for process input and output, but you can also just do simple read, simple write, which could be really useful. Okay, so that one could benefit from it. The RNG module. I kind of forgot I even implemented this thing. Is it even like, yeah, it is working. It is working. I forgot I did this. Cool. Although I'm not sure that I'm actually using it anywhere in the system. But this one is another one that could greatly benefit from simple read, simple write. It is being loaded. Okay. It could benefit from that because most of the times that you use /random, you're just gonna be reading a single random value, so you don't need to read specific amounts or anything like that. Where was I? That's random. Okay. For disk, this one will not use simple read, simple write. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Maybe simple read, but not simple write. That's /disk. Yeah, this one's actually not using any of that, any reading or writing operations, because that's just a place to put the disk, to initialize the disk module, but it doesn't actually need to mount itself anywhere, so it's just there because it needs to be there. But for the boot partition, no need for that. And for the shared partition, or the, actual user programs, no need for that either. For graphics, could be useful, so I'm going to keep it. For the input system, also could be useful. For DOS, it's the entire reason we're implementing this thing, so I should fucking hope that it uses it. For networking, probably not. You probably want to keep a single line of communication open with the network. And for the scheduler, absolutely fucking not. Well, yeah, maybe. Because it's not for the scheduler, it's for processes. So yeah, maybe. All right. So now there's these simple read, simple write. Both of which return a size t. Window command read takes a const char path, takes a void buffer, takes a size size. That's it. Returns 0 by default. And the window command right takes a const char path, takes a const void buffer, and takes a size, and bada bing returns a 0 by default. Window command read. Damn, I got the function signature correct. Amazing. Like it was difficult. All you had to do was think about it logically for a second, and I wrote the thing, but it's not always a given that I'm gonna get things right on the first try. So good to see that it was in this case. Okay. So the window module is set up. It's now called by the window system. This is the main function of our process. Let's see if all of this loads. We don't care about the read and the write just yet. We'll get to those eventually. Let's just see if initializing, load module and window module. Does that work? We need to implement this. Load module, which I believe comes from dev module loader. All right. Compilation wise, I think we're good. This should actually compile. It's a matter of, does it actually work? It didn't crash. But what the fuck is this? Oh, so maybe it did crash. It did crash. Never mind. Never mind. It did crash. Although it crashed. It crashed here, not here. So this already worked. What crashed was when it was doing stuff here. That's really weird. Maybe it needs a clean. Because I did change like half the system. Maybe half the system hasn't been informed of the change. Now I'm recompiling file by file, which is an amazing idea. Okay, well, that's an even clearer error. Module loader line 20, and then something on line 1000, but we don't actually know what it is because it says string.c, but that's wrong. Unless it's not, I don't know. So module loader line 20, that's here. String start. First off, we're using a linked list or a clinked list, as it says here. I want to use a hash map. But where is the crash? Oh, wait, hold on. It could actually be string line 1038. So here. Well, not A, not B. Okay, so one of these is not actually valid. Oh, okay. Hold on. Did I actually give my system a path? Probably didn't. So it's a null check there. That's probably not working too well. Although I should add a bunch of null checks to the string.c and string.h and string.whatever. You know, usual simple null check. Let's see if that prevents the crash, but it'll probably crash somewhere else or... Okay, it doesn't crash. but it doesn't fully work. Which again makes sense because I did forget a few properties here. I forgot name. Actually, we can make name dos mount to, is it mount slash? Yes, slash window. And then version, and I have a version number major 0, 0, no, 0, 1, 0, build 0, which is gonna come in handy once it comes to actually like loading new modules and whatnot. And we're back to working. Amazing. We can load modules at runtime from within a kernel process. So, fucking amazing. Okay, now we have to ask ourselves, we can bind to slash window. Can we do stuff to it? So I'm going to put this stub for receive command. And if we're able to write to the window, then we've received a command. So from within the resize window, within this function, we're going to try a file system call to a function that doesn't currently exist. So maybe let's implement that first. They're going to take paths, they're going to take void buffers, and they're going to take size t sizes. Except the buffer for the right is going to be a const or a let if you're in Swift. Or not. But apparently it's a controversial thing, so. Okay. This. Bada bing. The code for this is gonna stay the same. In which we just go through the modules that we have and we look for the module with the path that we use. Also advancing the path in the process. So the path that we're passing in is gonna be window 10 resize. And it is going to find the module that binds itself to window, and then it is going to pass this path to it. We should check that it's actually doing that. But if there is a module, then you return 0, if not, for stuff. And if there is a module, we're going to call the simple read with the path, the buffer, and the size. And return that as a result. No syscalls for this just yet. I probably should implement syscalls, but they're not needed right now. And then swrite. So much simpler functions when you don't deal with file descriptors, which makes sense. Okay. That's simple. And now we can go to the resize window. And here we can do simple write to window resize. Probably should eventually check if read or write. That's why I stopped for a second. I was thinking, do I need to check? Because I do 0. That doesn't return 0. That's a null function pointer. So yeah, I need to do that. Okay. Good point about that one. Let me just finish writing this real quick. Height. Okay. The code is all there, but you've got a point there. I definitely need to write some null checks. And for that matter, I need to do those here as well, because I'm actually not doing them. Because you could actually try to open a actually never noticed that was a thing. This for read, this for write, and the same thing for open. No mod open return fs result not found. And the last of the commands here is the listing directory contents. That. That's a lot of commits. Wait, is it all set up? I kind of think it is. I just think we don't currently have a way of testing it. But I think overall we're good. And we can try in user default process. We can try to resize window. No, resize draw context with the draw context. Didn't update swrite or sread on those ones? On which ones? Both are read? Oh. Hold on, let me check. Yep. Oh, they're read too. They're not even sread. You're swrite. You're sread. You are write. You are read. And you are open. Okay, the rest are okay. All right. So now we should actually have a proper... Okay, window got resized. Received command. Got inter-process communication, speedrun, an hour and a half, of which the half was yapping. So Actually, the hour was yapping. The half was the actual implementation. Amazing. Amazing fucking work. We got window. First try too, actually, yeah. Good job, good job. Good job, me. And also G Studios, who prevented my system from being crashed in the easiest fucking way. Okay. Also you, Jester, because otherwise you complain. Okay, so we got inter-process communication. That's part 1. Part 2 is actually handling that. You know, resizing the window when we're actually given a new window. But let's not do that right now. We have all of this to take care of. So let me do that real quick. Again, this goes in, 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 so does this, so does this. This is good. This. Oh, no, but let me put a to-do on this one. Like, yeah. I do want it. And I've already defined what it's going to look like, so I might as well do that. Let me put a to-do on that one and bring it in. All right, the graphics. Window resizing. Okay. Input dispatch. Not you. Yes, you. Yes, you. You. Yes. Oh, I actually implemented syscalls for that. Well, syscall stubs for that, but I'm not gonna use them yet, so not quite yet. Also, no, the default process thing I'm not gonna commit. Okay. I do like that the kernel processes can actually expand the file system as they want. That already gives us quite a bit of flexibility when it comes to modular drivers type of thing. Because if it doesn't need direct, well, it's not really drivers, but like extra functionality, as long as it's a kernel process, which does need to be compiled into the system, but it shouldn't always be like that. It won't always be like that. Then you can just create one of those and then bind yourself to the file system and expand the file system dynamically with modules, which also means when you close the system, you need to unload the modules. And come to think of it, if this crashes, if this process crashes, then the module needs to be unloaded. So, yeah. This is why I said, you gotta find a... Maybe I'm gonna decide that this is not a good idea, and it's gonna be a limitation, but it's not so much that. It's just that I gotta take care of what I'm doing. Okay, first off, I want to see what path we're writing to, and second, I want to convert our buffer to a uint32t pointer new size equal to a cast of our buffer. And if the size is not equal to 2 times the size of a uint32t, Then we're going to return a 0. If not, we're going to return a size because we've actually been given the correct size. New window size IXI. It's going to be new size 0, new size 1. There we go. Okay, so now we should be getting all the information that we need if everything is set up correctly, which I probably should have checked before doing the command. But I like to live dangerously like that. I'm a risk taker like that. Received command window resize on a new window size of 100 by 100. And the risk pays off. Beautiful. Here's the interesting thing. Window slash resize is not always going to work. Window slash resize, we don't know which window you're talking about here, bro. We have no idea which window you're talking about. But luckily that comes from another kernel process. So it knows which window we're talking about. And it can tell us. So that's not a problem, actually. We're going to create a window for it. And it is going to be a string format of window I resize from the only window that currently exists. So it's going to be hard-coded, but we're just going to be preparing for when it's not. Path.data, and then we're going to do a string free at the end of that. What language? It's C. Okay, so with that, we should be receiving now the actual window index. There's only one window, so. Except if I don't actually run the program, it's not gonna do that. Window 0 resize. Beautiful. Except, hold on, I did something wrong here. This shouldn't be window 0 resize. It should just be 0 resize. Because I'm advancing the path, but I'm probably using the wrong variable in the file system. Here, there's... yeah, it should be search path, not path. Pure C. Pure C is the best. Can I run Doom yet? Yes, it can. Don't know if I have it on this computer, but I can run Doom. Okay, now it's correct. 0 resize. So that's how it's supposed to work. And I actually already have some code in the scheduler for getting the current process, because the process does /proc/process ID /something. So I can just steal that code from here. Or not. Oh no, it's in open that it does that, right? So it does this, and this. That. It's called Redacted OS. I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep that name. The longer I go, the more I feel like I want a proper name, but so far, that's the name it has. Okay, so we're gonna copy this code, and it's gonna tell us which window we are gonna be doing this for. Except it's not gonna be a PID. What the fuck? I'm happy to take it once you find another name for the OS. Damn. Okay, well, if you... Maybe I should like it more then. Should be WID for window ID. Well, WID string. So widths. And this should be width. Now, Command S for window I. Instead of path, no, actually path is fine. And width. Don't read it as weed, it's width. Alright, so that should tell us which window we're trying to do it for. Should already parse it. Received command resize for window 0. Fucking amazing. So now we can also send other commands like move, like we could actually receive new for that matter. So there's a possibility you can just do like /window/new, but doesn't matter. What am I missing? No, we're good. We're good. We're good. Now the thing that is missing actually is that there needs to be a reference to the current window. I do run it with QEMU. It also runs on real hardware, but had some issues with the Raspberry Pi 5 that I was running it on, so now I need to take some time and just get it to run on the 4. Shouldn't be too difficult. For no matter, most of the code is there. Just one tiny issue with my SD card, which is probably just the wrong address for the SD card device. That's the most likely explanation for why it's not working. After that, it should work just fine. But mostly I run it on QEMU. Yeah, we're currently creating windows, but we're not really keeping track of those windows. So we want to do that. Not dual boot, no. Just boot. It's on ARM, so most systems, it's not like they don't run on ARM. They're not really made to run on ARM. Okay. This system is not keeping track of the current window size or anything like that, so obviously it fails. Like I said, we need the second part was refactoring this code to actually be able to handle this stuff. It's a matter of how do I keep track of those windows? Do I use a linked list of windows? That feels kind of awful, but I just hate linked lists because of performance reasons, but you're not going to have a million windows most likely. It's not going to be a problem to go through even a few dozen windows. Yeah, linked list is probably the best idea to use here. If I make this code C++, I can use C++ linked lists. If not, I can use C linked lists. Oh, this is an important moment. Do I go back to C++ or just swear it off forever? Senior dev? Yeah. Do I say goodbye to C++ forever? Giga level? Just by doing stuff. You just pick a random project and do it. Like, operating system is not exactly... Well, it was something I wanted to do. Something I had an interest in. But just kind of like, okay, I want to make an operating system. I'm going to learn how to do that. And here we are. Pondering whether to sin and use C++. It's a philosophical question. Because, like, why am I so against C++? Why is that why is C++ a problem? C++ should not be a problem. And yet, I have linked lists in C as well, so I could just use C. And C is just cleaner. It's just nicer, but in this case, it's not as nice. So, fuck it, I'm going with C. Plus C plus. All right, let's go with C plus. No, we're going with C. Data struct C linked list.h. There it is. Okay. Oh. Exciting moment. All right. So that actually needs to be created by the initialization function. Let's use C++ for this. No, let's not. Let's just fuck it. C linked list create window list. Okay, that's easy, simple, done. Cool. Is there a function to get the count? Is it open source? Yes, it is. You can do... Yes, you're in YouTube, but you can still do it. You can do command get and you can get a link to it. Okay. 16T window ID. A 32T width. A UN32T height. A UN32T X and Y. Width and height. That's going to be the information that we use to represent this. Okay, does the C linked list have a... No, there's no need for count. How hard is it to combine C and C++? It's not. If I wanted to use C++, I literally just changed the name of this from C to C++, which my make file like picks up and compiles at C++. And then I can just combine the two. I just don't want to do that. Okay, creating the window list is simple. And then we have to create an iterator. See, this is where it gets a little bit annoying to work with when it comes to linked list or C linked list. Linked list find needs this thing. Function like this. A find window function. Assuming with... I need to find other implementations of this to realize how you're supposed to do it. Node and key. Okay, so kind of like this. Just want to copy this function. Find window with a node, and it's not going to be a driver module, but a window frame. And the key that we're searching for is not a const char pointer, but rather a uint16t WID. And then if frame when ID equals to width, Remember, with, not weed. Then we return a 0. Otherwise, we return a -1. Okay, but what's your problem? Oh, I didn't actually give it a name. There it is. Okay. The linked is the list is window list. The key is with, and the I'm not sure about my use of pointer here, if I should just convert to a 16-bit. Find the window. Yeah, no, it's past the pointer. So now that should be correct. And then how do you use it? Like this. And then access node data. Who needs C++ when you have this? Whoops, this was supposed to go here. And then if node and the node data, then we access the window frame as a window frame cast of the node's data. And the frame width is now going to be new size 0. The frame's height is going to be new size 1. Fuck it. Cursed C. And then we're going to create a boolean called 30 windows. And if the windows are dirty, we are just gonna clean them up. And on top of that, we're going to create another function separate from the whole file system function. Create win. And it's going to take a X, Y, W, and H. Oh. Okay. And here we're going to clink list push front some data for it into the window list, some window frame equal to some malloc data. Now that we can actually use malloc inside the kernel, although we're in a process, so we could still have used it before, but you push the frame as the data. And we're also going to have a starts at 1. Okay, the frames, we're gonna give it a new window ID. That's gonna be Hey, I'm back, but only for a few minutes. What have you done? Well, you're gonna love this because you asked for this a long time ago. I'm technically adding something that's gonna make it a lot easier to add multiple window support. So, I implemented inter-process communication already. Now I'm implementing actually making it work, like with resizing the window and whatnot. And then that's gonna, I'm technically allowing for the possibility of multiple windows in this process. I need to do it in the other one as well, but shouldn't be too hard. Window ID plus plus frame width frame height frame x frame y. We're going to push that data. We're also going to do this to it. Oops. Fixed point. And then size. That's where that was coming from. Cool. So this becomes fixed point x and y. This becomes size, width, and height. You can create a new window system with what I'm doing. All you have to do is just replace this process with your own. And you want to have a module like this one that just binds to the file system in the same way that mine does. And then you can replace it. It can be a drop-in replacement for it. If you want to support window resizing and all that stuff. Which is the only thing I currently support, so you should be fine. Now this draw window function, what does it actually do? Oh, no, this one does not get called. Not from in here. So I'm actually changing the way that this works. Right now, there's no window drawing happening, but if dirty windows, we're gonna clean them. Adding taskbar, movable windows, resizing, all that stuff. Yeah. You can essentially just make a replacement of this DOS process. DOS process. The pronunciation is very important to not get sued. Okay, if the windows are dirty, we're just gonna redraw every single one of them. So we have to iterate through the linked list. Which there's a function for. Window list, and we need to create a void redraw win. See, who said we needed C++ and generics when you just have void pointer? Who needs generics when you have a void pointer? Then you just do this. Just a little void pointer, a little cast, and you're done. You don't need generics. Then all we really have to do is just draw window, and actually we can update this function to just use a window frame. C doesn't have lambdas, anonymous functions closures. It has function pointers. And with macros, you can technically do those things. The extension for param placeholders? Oh, that's Clang. The only Clanger I like. Although it does mean that I have to do this to cast. Whoops. Sucks. Could do some macro hacking for it, but let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's not fucking bother. Although, I wonder if I can just make this a static. That, is it static inline? No, you don't have to do it. Oh, but yeah. This doesn't complain. It's an inline function, so technically... saves as one function call. Alright. Amazing. Who needs lambdas? We don't need C++. All that fancy stuff. Amateur stuff. Okay. Oh, yeah, I need to update this function now. To just use the window frame and use a pointer. What? That's not a pointer? That's a pointer. And then that's it. And it should redraw the windows every single time, except I forgot to do one thing here. So I do need those brackets. We need to do a GPU clear with the color bug color. How will that work with the windowing system, I wonder? Might not work too well. Yeah, already not off to a good start. Need to set dirty windows to false, yeah. Thank you. Yep. To false. Do you ever set it to true? I think I did. Yes, I do. Here. I do that when I receive a command for window. For window resizing. Okay, so that's good. But what I don't do is I don't set it to dirty here. That is a problem. Or actually, should be inside create win. Okay, so that works. That still doesn't. Received command resize for Windows 0? Right, I forgot. There's no more Windows 0. There are 9 trademarks for just DOS in the US. Okay, I'm sniffling a little bit. God damn it. So, let me take care of that while I run an ad, which is coming up in 2 minutes anyway. I'll be right back. we're back. Turns out DOS has been trademarked a lot. The thing about it is that it doesn't really matter if you use the same trademarked name. I was wondering, I saw Mattel there. I was wondering what they were talking about. It's DOS, the sequel to Uno. There's none here from Microsoft. There is one from Mattel. Or this search just doesn't work like I expected it to. I saw Mattel here. MS-DOS is trademarked? We're good. By the way, I mentioned there's a video coming up on Wednesday about the compression algorithm, deflate and all that. In pretty much all my videos, I have complained about Microsoft at some point or another. Not entirely sure about the 10-hour Doom livestream. Maybe that one I haven't, but in every single one of my other videos, I have complained about Microsoft in one way or another. So just to not break that streak, I included a little complaint about the BMP file format created by Microsoft. Just for the sake of it. Oh, Mattel, here it is. Live register, toys and games, namely card games and accessories, therefore. Now, the one I saw was this... Well, no, not this one. It was for an online game, so I guess, like, the digital version of DOS. But yeah, as long as you're not in the same industry, you're not infringing on their trademark, but we are in the same industry. But MS-DOS... See, the problem with this is... Okay, now it works. But it doesn't find anything for Microsoft, so let's try MS-DOS directly. Microsoft Corporation has 88. MSN? That's Messenger, right? Wait, no, they now have it. It's an actual thing. It's the news. It's Microsoft fucking News. In Spanish. It searches MS or DOS. That makes sense. So if I wasn't a Spanish speaker, say that I'm like, I don't know, visiting fucking Brazil and I don't speak Portuguese, will it give me the news in Portuguese because it thinks it knows me better than I know myself, or what's gonna happen here? O que acontece no corpo se comemos ovos todos os dias. I guess Portuguese is not that difficult if you're a Spanish speaker. What's interesting is that if you look at MS-DOS, it finds all of these, but it didn't actually find anything for MS-DOS. Oh, you found it, okay. Dead, cancelled. We're free. Status as of 1st of August. Oh, MS, okay. Does it say when it was cancelled? Or when it expired or something? I don't see that. Oh, okay, it was 1st of August. Cancelled. So they let it expire on the 1st of August. When did I start this the DOS thing? I feel like it might... Obviously, it's not even the same trademark. It just would be funny if, like, I missed the deadline by, like, a week. Again, different name. Not infringing on anyone's trademark, but yeah. Oh, you can query for MS. That's okay. There it is. All dead or cancelled. Beautiful. We'd love to see it. Oh, to be fair, I'm in Spain, but it's not included in the list of countries, so doesn't matter. Okay. Redrawing windows does not seem to. Resizing windows, I mean, does not seem to currently update the frame of the window. Which is a little weird. God, am I getting sick again? Jesus Christ. No way. Well, there's a chance that it didn't find the actual... Oh, yeah, okay. I remember what happened. It doesn't find the actual window because the window ID is no longer 0, it is now 1. Except we're not communicating that between the two processes, so... They don't really know that. But window 0 is invalid, so it should be window 1. Maybe I'll add multi-window support. Still no. Alright, let's see if it actually... Let me see if it actually finds the window frame on the width and the frame on the height. It did find it, yes. But... Oh! Hold on. It worked! Just, why aren't you cleared? Thought it cleaned the entire window. Yeah. It works, but it doesn't. Sure. I'm cleaning, I'm redrawing all the windows, then I'm flushing. So I'm really surprised as to why it's not working. Yeah, this is the wrong GPU. Frame buffer GPU, this is the one. It freeze created a new window. That's good. But then it... It kind of doesn't work. It kind of works, it kind of doesn't. I'm really surprised because I know I wrote some code to black out the old window at some point, but where was that? Because I'm seeing it's not here. It is also not here, I believe. No, it isn't. I feel like there's some competing code that draws black where the old window used to be, and I don't remember where that code is. I think so anyway, but maybe there isn't. No, there is. But maybe there isn't. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it doesn't feel like there is. Oh shit, okay. Hold on, let me take a closer look at the part of the screen that's not being cleared properly. So I create a window. There it is, quite big window. Then it gets resized to that. No, that's not what I thought it was gonna be. This should have been cleared. No one is drawing to that anymore. How do I even debug this? Oh god. Let me see what happens if I clear to another color, like red. It's gonna be beautiful, trust me. You know, bright red. Okay. It seems to always be the same, but I don't know why. That's... I hate this. No, the flush needs to be called every single frame. Oh wait, the flush is actually responsible for drawing all the different window contexts. Or maybe not. No, it's not. No, it's not. This is hard to debug. Because the test window has also been resized. So it's been told about... Where is even test window defined? Here. Okay. Yeah, test window has been told to resize, and then it informs the GPU to resize. And the next time that comes around, it redraws. And I don't understand. The problem is I don't know how to debug this. It's probably not even a huge issue. It's probably something really silly, but it's a matter of... I don't know. Another weird thing that's happening. When you draw the window, you oh, excuse you. Don't believe you meant to do that. It takes a bit to actually reload. Is it when I let go of the mouse, or? No, it just takes a bit and then it reloads. But I think it only takes a bit because right, because inter-process communication. This process is being given like 250 milliseconds of CPU time, which is excessive, but it is so far has been the only process that actually matters visually. Now that's no longer the case, so I need to change that. Hello. But okay, that explains the delay. It just doesn't explain why it doesn't all fully redraw. Because when I call GPU clear, it calls the GPU driver's clear function, which is here, which calls clear on its entire context. Let me try something else. Let me do RES. Well, it should probably be here. Which just stands for resize. And if we're resizing, then the color is going to be, otherwise it's going to be that. So the window gets created. What? What? Okay, now it doesn't work anymore. It worked well the first time and then it didn't. It's actually the entire bottom of the screen is now being redrawn. Is it always the same area? Is it always the same size? That seems like exactly half of the screen. Is it always half of the screen? What if my window never goes past the first half of the screen? Yeah, it's always... What? Let me do blue for the other part. Let me see if that's being redrawn. Mouse code? I don't think it has to do with the mouse. This is all being redrawn. And yet, when I do this, it only draws half of the window. And the other half of the window seems... No, it's still usable. I don't know. Is it that for whatever reason, the resizing code is resizing the entire context? not just the context of the window? Is that window context is being used for something? No, I don't think so. Okay, well, clear is only being called a handful of times. So I should be able to put a print here that tells me what's going on. Make sure that that's not being overwritten somehow. Holy shit, wait. It might be getting overwritten. I need to look into that in a second. Context size is 1080 by 720. And context size is still the same one. So it's not being overwritten. Bye, MX. I was thinking that in resize window, no, we're using the window context. I was thinking maybe I was using the same variable name and that was leading to errors, but no. It seems like the clear knows to draw the exact same size as before. That is so weird. That is unexpected. What if I don't actually apply any resizing to the window? Maybe switching buffers between the clears, since the GPU is double buffered. It is, but I don't see how that's a problem. Okay, I'm just gonna like accept the command without actually resizing the window. So that's here. I'm just not gonna change anything. I'm not gonna change anything here. Now it got even worse. I beg your pardon? It got worse. I don't get it. Okay, now this works. Now it did nothing. Despite me setting res and dirty windows to true, it didn't do a damn thing. What? Now it does. But it only does part of it. Now it only does a quarter of it. Oh, I'm so confused. The driver is not in the mood. That's the only explanation. Now, one thing that's true about window resizing is that it creates a new context for the window. So let's actually like straight up ignore the resizing. The size is the same. That's the weird thing. Straight up ignore that we're resizing. Now it works. Now it actually works. What if we resize the window but don't resize the context inside the window? There's a chance that this will, I don't know, crash or be weird, but it's worth checking because it seems like the context is maybe like messing with, yeah, it's weird. But weirdo. This being messed up makes sense because it's now expecting a different context that isn't actually valid. So that I get. That I fully get. What I don't get is the rest of it. It's not actually the draw context that's messing it up, which is actually a good thing because it's not a memory problem. I don't know what it is. But one thing that might be worth testing is the other GPU. Yeah, this one works. Though it's slow as fuck, but it works. So I would call this one a bug on the double buffer thing. That may have been correct. Let's see, let me bring back all the functionality, which I'm pretty sure is this just missing. And then see. This GPU is so much slower. I'm definitely getting sick again. Jesus Christ. Yeah, but this one works. All right. Might know what's going on. Okay, let me. Okay, so my logic, I think, mostly fine. But window height looks suspiciously close to the amount that's cleared. Previous window height. Let's check. So if I make the window really big. No. Previous window height is this window that was here before. So not quite. It was 615 out of 720, so no, not that. But okay, what's going on with the double buffers? Why do you have shades? I've not seen you wear them. What about now? This is frame buffer GPU, yes. The swap happens here. Okay. we're swapping the back frame buffer and the frame buffer. We're then updating each GPU's frame buffer, because the two different frame buffer GPUs I have are slightly different in the way that they work for that. And then I am copying from the frame buffer to the back frame buffer. So from the new one to the old one, so that next time that you make changes, they happen to the I mostly just have them to hold my hair back actually right now. Back when I had eye problems, I also had them to allow me to look at the screen without dying. Yeah, so we update the back frame buffer with the latest information. This is done in the background after we've already shown the user the newest stuff on the GPU. Then we update the frame buffer, and there's no multi-threading. So it's not like we're doing this while we're updating. Nothing like that is actually happening. All right. Let me see if I can get something for my nose. I'll be back in a minute. Well, I was just sick last week, and it's looked like I'm still sick. Love that. Might be doing it when context switches? No, because when you're inside this code, you're not context switching. That's disabled. Except no the fuck it isn't. It isn't fucking disabled. Might as well check. Right, that's not there. It's in exceptions. Timer.h. Also no. Well, no, disable interrupt. It's the name of the function. It's in IRQ. Wait, are we on the right GPU now? Yes, we are. Okay. Yep, that's it. That's it. But I don't want to have that code here. That's kind of stupid. So during a GPU flush, you want to always... Is it enough to do it inside a GPU flush? I sure hope so. Exceptions, IRQ.h in the GPU flush if the GPU is not ready, blah, blah, blah. Disable interrupt. Enable interrupt. This code is C++, so we need to go in here and we need to define these two as if def C++. Yeah, if def. Am I doing it wrong? Why are you green? Why is it green? Was it better when it was in here? It's mostly good now. But yeah, the context switching was messing that up. Oh no, it's still the same thing. Right? I'm not sure. So I do expect it to mess up. No, this works fine. This doesn't. No, this does. Now, anyway. Not always, though. Okay. That makes sense. Good to know. Okay. So, it does work, but obviously it kind of, like, overrides what was in that window. So... I'm making Temple OS like system? I am not. And also, why am I not seeing messages in OBS chat anymore? Damn OBS, are you messed up again? Alright. Oh boy. I'm not gonna lie, having these two systems be separate feels... makes less and less sense as the further I go with it. So I might just join them. There's the window part that provides the window to the processes, and then there's the window part that provides the window to the system. I feel like those should be joined. Kind of feels that way. But okay, no, this one is actually not a process. That's the problem with it. Yeah, this one's not a process. The other one is a process, this one isn't. It's just that there's currently no way of telling the window to redraw itself after the window inside has been redrawn. Because this process has no knowledge of what's inside of the windows. It just draws what's outside of the windows. But here, it is redrawing what's inside of the windows, and so it kind of just... Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. Like right now it worked. Seems like the process was able to like redraw itself without an issue. Now it works as well. Maybe it's... Yeah, but sometimes it doesn't. But wait, why is it drawing itself as empty? That's not right. Hold on. Let me give it a size of... Making this hexadecimal real quick. It is due to context switching. I feel like the process inside the window is not redrawing itself. But why is it not redrawing itself? Is the interrupt just not being returned anymore? Like we're stuck inside one process always? Yes, that is a possibility. I can literally feel myself getting sicker. Jesus Christ. I was fine like when I started the stream 2 hours and a half ago. Now I feel like I'm actively dying. The thing is, this process draws itself in a while loop. No, not kprintf. It should just be printf. But what I print inside of it doesn't really matter. I just wanted to print something when it is actively running. And that way I'll know that it's actually doing stuff. It's running. Now it isn't anymore. Whereas before I did this, I feel like it's just not re-enabling the interrupt at some point for whatever reason. Here it is still running. Printf is used only, kprintf is used only inside the kernel. Printf is a, also my chat is working again. There's just one person whose messages did not show up in my OBS chat for whatever reason. One message did not show up in my OBS chat for whatever reason. Yeah, printf is the syscall version of kprintf. Internally, they're the same, but it's just one of them is made available to the kernel, the other one is not. Like here, for example. Disable interrupt, enable interrupt. Yeah, so it ran a bunch of times. Then the window was informed of the update, and that was that. I feel like the entire system is actually frozen. There's no more interrupts happening. All right. Let's see what's happening. Because it's called in a loop. Oh shit, okay. GPU flush is actually being called several places. And every time it gets called in one of those places, this happens. So, okay. Let me just put the interrupt code. CAD? What the hell is CAD? The interrupt code in here like I want it to. Even though it's not as nice. But at least it works. Okay. And what's missing? Oh yeah, the 250 millisecond no, not this one. Priority is way too much. Ooh. Oh shit. Much better. Feel like that should change too. Feel like it used to. Now it doesn't. But hey. Just gonna real quick stage everything I have. Yep. Not that. Not that. Get out of here. Not you. 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 Not you. Not you. I wonder how games are gonna run now. I kinda should check that real quick before doing this. Okay, the game runs pretty smooth. So, absolutely no issue there. Wait, let me check something. If I make the window like tall, it resizes it to a right size window. Amazing. Okay, it works pretty well. Oh, and the reason that the menu wasn't being resized, that one I don't fully understand, to be honest. Amazing. Also, I just realized I have 3 terminal windows for the exact same folder. Okay, this is working. Just gotta check the launcher real quick. When we return here. It's getting a new window context, so it should absolutely resize itself. Unless I disabled some code in here that I shouldn't have. But no, I didn't. Cool. That's a draw bug. Been there for a while. Default process line 27 is reading the image. Oh, you probably are having trouble opening the same image multiple times. No, that's not it. Forget that. Is this crash the second time you open a process related to... Did I flip my camera on my entire room? Which one do you think I did? No. The second time the process launches, it goes to syscall on line 26. So f read then goes to syscall 200, which then goes to whatever this is. I don't actually know how to use this command, so that's not how you use it. Yeah, I flipped my entire room. That's exactly what I did. Right, I'm not even specifying a command. That's kind of annoying. It's much easier for me to do this. And then this. There we have it. Read file line 153. This. How is this giving you trouble? Okay, put a breakpoint there. I'm already running the system, might as well. Okay, so I'm gonna open the... Gonna continue. Gonna run this file. Gonna continue. Again. Gonna close it. Gonna close it. Close it. Why is it not closing? God damn it, GDB just breaks everything, bro. I struggle to understand how this works. File mod exists, but then file mod read doesn't. Unless the value of it is garbage for whatever fucking reason. Because when it crashes... The address at which it crashes is B70032. That address is probably within the process itself. So that's not right. So if I remove this real quick, it will work? I doubt it will. No, it doesn't. Okay, that's good. Okay, there's an ad coming up on Twitch, so I'll be back in 3 minutes. We're back for a limited time only before I succumb to this illness. It is progressing fast. I started kind of sniffling during the stream. The stream has been going for 3 hours. Starting to feel like death. Again, my second week being sick. I thought I was better. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in again. And by they, I mean germs. So, let's fix this shit before it gets worse. Okay, it seems to me that all you see is violence in movies and sex on TV. So, it seems to me like there's a new crash that started happening out of nowhere. That's what actually seems to me. I'm also not sure that the lyrics are seems to me, but whatever. Literally dying on stream, yeah. I would tell you to sub for the quality content, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna be here to provide more quality content come tomorrow, so I'm actually not. I'm not streaming tomorrow. Those are the actual lyrics? No, it seems today. I think it seems today that all you see is violence in movies and sex on TV. Okay. Well, I was wrong, but doesn't matter. Yeah, so everything started crashing. So what do we do when everything starts crashing? As you can see, I employ this technique quite a lot. This is not even my main development machine. This is my main stream development machine. Should probably clean. You also should not be asking for a password, because then it doesn't work. And then it doesn't quit. Okay, it does quit. Never mind. When I switch to Mac, technically I switched to Linux and then I switched back. I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I was gonna do some music stuff on Logic Pro and then just kind of stuck to it. I would have done it earlier, but OBS was glitching like crazy. It lagged my entire system for whatever reason, so I couldn't. Now it's doing good, so I can. Okay, need to do this again. Disable networking. So get rid of the privilege. Get rid of netdev. Get rid of dump, I'm pretty sure. That plays, but... Okay. So one of the changes stashed is actually responsible for this shit. One of you has betrayed me. Hello, it's OIK. It's OIK. I won the raid roulette. Happy to hear. No, I got your joke because you're Kevin McAllister. I got that. Also, I find it interesting that I got a notification that you raided my channel like nearly a minute after you followed me. So I'm assuming you were already raiding. Notifications are a little bit delayed, I guess. Also, how was your stream? Oh, dropping stuff on my desk, as I tend to do. How was your stream? I'm over here trying to do inter-process communication in my operating system and also dying of a mystery illness that has started during the stream. Technically started last week. I thought I got better, apparently not. Okay. Just in time to watching him. We're sick in real time. Yep. Okay, real quick. One of these unstaged changes is responsible for processes crashing the second time around. And we don't know which one. It's not going to be you. So we can keep you around. Probably not going to be you. Oh, your Twitch is acting up? I was just asking how your stream went. You might not be able to communicate a whole lot. Oh. Any of these could be responsible for the change. I don't know which one. I guess I can check. Let me see. Let me rule some stuff out. Thank you for typing it out. Oh, okay. You were able to respond. Game Jam submission. Wait. S++? That's a new one. I was looking at programming languages. I don't know if you mean C++. Something else? What is S++? C++? Okay. Because earlier I was looking at F++, F sharp. Just a bunch of programming languages. So, you never know. Also, I'm really bad at typing, so I can't really say anything about that. Okay, so that's not the change that I changed changes. This is probably not it. Can I assume that it's... What else can it possibly be? It's gotta be this. What if I just don't send the notification? What happens then? Oh, big boy. What's gonna happen if I don't tell you that windows are being resized? You still gonna crash? Yep. Still gonna crash. Fucking weird. It's so weird. Well, have a good dinner, I'm assuming, since you're going to sleep afterwards. It's written for ARM, not for RISC-V. Again, I always struggle to remember if I'm supposed to pronounce it RISC-V or RISC-V. It still crashes. What in the actual name of fuck is happening? $11 p.m. Alright, so you're same time zone as me or 1 hour ahead. So have a good dinner and sleep. And thanks for the raid again. RISC-V. Let me look it up real quick. Risk 5. Thank you, Wikipedia. Yeah. How did I pronounce it at the beginning before I started asking myself if I'm pronouncing it right or wrong? Because now I don't remember. So, whatever. Whatever. Alright. So this is clearly not what's making the issue happen. Wait, no. What made me choose ARM is the Raspberry Pi. Although ARM is pretty nice to work with. I heard Risk 5 is too. It's just not that popular, you know? Risk 5 is still in its infancy, but actually it has the potential of learning from everything that ARM did to get to the point where it is right now, and just skip all the learning process. So it has a lot of potential too, it's just not very popular right now. Okay. So, what about you is causing this crash? What about... Instead of loading the module, I'm just gonna init the file system, and it's not gonna do any of that weird shit. But it still crashes. My lord in heaven. But then, if I just reset this file, am I safe to assume it doesn't crash anymore? No, it still fucking crashes. This is the only possible one that could be causing the crash, but I cannot tell what about it could possibly be causing the crash. No, well, that's not really supposed to be. Didn't Linus recently crash out because of Risk 5? Yes, he did. Not because of Risk 5. It was because the guy who maintains Linux for Risk 5 was always late on his pull requests. And this one time Linus said, I'm gonna go on a trip, so the window for submitting pull requests is even smaller than usual. And I think the guy missed the smaller window. And Linus told him, like, hey, you've been... I'm paraphrasing in a much nicer way. He told him, hey, you need to get on top of this shit because you've been submitting pull requests at the very last minute, and that makes it really uncomfortable to like review them properly and accept them. And this time the window was even smaller and you completely missed the deadline, so sorry for you, but your changes are not gonna make it into this version of Linux. He said all that, but a lot less nicely. Okay. What in the genuine fuck is causing this bug? What about this? He crashed out because of Indianness too. When was that? I feel like... Oh, the swap thing? I feel like that's happened multiple times. There's a GitHub repo with all of his... all of his rants. Is somebody seriously working on BE support in 2025? Why? I would crash out in the same way, I'm not gonna lie to you. Oh, you found me through X? I just found out that somebody posted my Doom stream on there. So happy to hear that people are coming from there. And welcome to those who are. Is somebody seriously working on big endian support in 2025? Why? Seriously, it sounds just stupid. Is there any actual reason for this? Or is it more like RISC-V is used in academic design classes and so people just want to do endianness for academic reasons? Because I'd be more than happy to draw a line in the sand and say new endianness problems are somebody else's problem and tell people to stop being silly. Let's not complicate things for no reason, and there is no reason to add new endianness. RISC-V is enough of a mess with a million of silly configuration issues already. Don't make it even worse. Tell people to just talk to their therapists instead. That's much more productive. You know what? Valid crash out. Absolutely fucking valid crash out. Agree with him. He didn't insult anyone for that matter. He just got middle-ended this. Fuck off. This is how we end up with deflate, where you read bytes in one direction and then you read bits in the other direction. It's fucking stupid. He called big endianness stupid, but he didn't call anyone stupid. So this is both an improvement for Linus and also a very valid thing that I can just get behind. I just googled this and I'm putting my foot down. We are not preemptively supporting big endian on RISC-V. The documented reasoning for this craziness is too stupid for words, but since RISC-V.org did put it in words, I'll just quote those words here. There are still applications where the way data is stored matters, such as the protocols that move data across the internet, which are defined as big endian. So when a little endian system needs to inspect or modify a network packet, it has to swap the big endian values to little endian and back. A process that can take as many as 10 to 20 instructions on a RISC-V target, which doesn't implement the ZBB extension. It takes that much. It might genuinely take that much in ARM. I don't know. In other words, it is suggesting a RISC-V add a big endian mode due to internet protocols. And using RISC-V implementations. And some RISC-V implementations. Don't do the existing ZBB extension as an excuse. This is plain insanity. First off, even if byte swapping was a real cost for networking, it's not. The real cost tends to be in all the memory subsystems. Just implement the then ZBB extension. I don't know what ZBB extension he's talking about, but like genuinely the bottleneck when it comes to networking in performance is not going to be byte swapping. He's right about that. Like the bottleneck is going to be the network. So if it takes you 20 instructions to, on top of receiving the packet, processing it, tough luck. I'm hoping this is some April Fool's joke, but the page is dated March 10th, 2025. He's a poet. Close, but not close enough. This is the kind of silly stuff that just makes RISC-V look bad. Ben, I'm afraid that the page has further reading pointing to code think. I see some config CPU big endian has already made it in, but this needs to stop. The mainline kernel is for mainline development, not for random experiments that make the world a worse place. And yes, we're open source, and that very much means that anybody is more than welcome to try to prove me wrong. If it turns out that big endian RISC-V becomes a okay, I called it RISC-V by default, and then it's RISC-V. Okay. RISC-V becomes a real thing that is relevant and actually finds a place in the RISC-V ecosystem, then of course we should support it at that point in the mainline kernel. But I really do think that it actually makes RISC-V only worse and that we should not actively help the fragmentation. Very valid. Very fucking valid. I want to see the comments. I wonder what the foronix.com comments look like. This is exactly what RISC-V deserves. Jesus Christ. Kill it before it lays eggs move. Only Linus can say something like, tell people to just talk to their therapist instead. That's much more productive on the mailing list without being cancelled. He's got a point. If those wanting RISC-V big endian just created a separate architecture from the existing LE, then there wouldn't be any problems, surely. There are multiple BE architectures already supported. Which architectures are even big endian anymore? I feel like a big endian is such a fucking stupid thing. And it's such a shame that we've decided to make networking big endian because most of our CPUs are not. Every sane modern processor should handle endianness conversion with little zero overhead. Do not make it a mode of the processor itself. Little endian seems to have won and the world moved on, no matter my fond memories of 68,000. RISC-V needs to decide whether it's an experiment or for productive use. RISC-V today reminds me of this, standards.png. God damn it, I gotta log in. Honestly, somebody needs to dare to make new networking packets that are little endian and just flip off the entire networking community. Tough shit. Big endian is stupid. And by somebody, I mean me. That's it. We're doing a new internet. I don't fucking care. We're not doing big endian in the big 2025. Speaking of which, I cannot launch a process twice because the entire system crashes and I cannot figure out what exactly caused this issue. So I have bigger issues than big endian. It seems like if I commit these if I stage these changes, then it works just fine. So clearly one of these changes is responsible. But which one? Which one of them? This one is commented out, so that's not it. If I get rid of this one, it still happens. But at this point, there's zero actually valid changes made. It straight up happened on the first try here, but that's a different thing. The only thing I can think of is this one at this point. What the fuck? There's zero actual changes here. Bro. It's gonna, like, I'm gonna reset every single one of these. And then it's gonna turn out that it was actually happening before. Oh, now it didn't fully crash, but it still didn't work. What the fuck? I'm gonna make my own ISA. I think I'm good with ARM. What the? actual... At this point, I've actually reset so many files, and the only way to get them back is to Control Z. I'm so confused. Can I stage just these? No, not really. What is even happening? And I could just revert the commit, but... No, wait. Hold on, that's not correct. Tres. Where are you? Tres. Bring this back. Okay. This and this. That's it. I'm actually happy. Okay, so it turns out the problem comes from a different fucking build. The problem comes from here, most likely. So if we go here, should be able to make clean, make run. Whoop. How can it be different? How can that file be different? Bro, what? I haven't changed this file in forever. The encall at this point, I don't know. It's just learning, research. That's kind of the goal here. We'll see how it goes after that. Oh, bro. Okay. I'm debugging something entirely different. This is happening on main. So it has absolutely nothing to do with the change that I just made. It is happening on main. Because it's complaining about one file. But like, I don't get why you're complaining about this file. No, actually, go back to this one. Merge this one in here. And get rid of this one. And then push this one. Bring back my vert changes. So this and this, actually need to be there because that was wrong. Or actually, no, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna use select the GPU, sure. But select the GPU on Darwin is going to be RAM FB. And on Linux, it is going to be RAM FB. Or actually, you know what? No. Can you do booleans in this thing? I don't think you can do booleans. Can you do numbers? I mean, probably you can do numbers. I'm not sure on the syntax of this, but no. Oh. B. Yeah, no, that's wrong. First off, this I'm pretty sure needs a semicolon. Because this shell language is absolutely fucking cursed. That's still wrong. I have no idea how this damn language works. Oh my god. What even is it? SH? What was that about Kardashian? Oh, probably when I looked up that... Okay, you can do true. And then you gotta do it with quotation marks. So that, and then here, here, and here, we can just do true. Which now gets syntax highlighting. Oh, because up there it doesn't, but here it does. And then, what is that about mon? Oh. Wait. YouTube comments are super delayed. Yes, they are. Because... normally I have to set latency every single time I stream to low, but I didn't do it today. So y'all are stuck with higher latency than normal, and yeah. Alright, so at least that's still happening, but at least I can commit this. And then, can I disable networking as well? Net dev is not equal to true. No, use net. Then Net dev is gonna be set to nothing. Phi. Dump is gonna be set to nothing. And privilege is gonna be set to nothing. And I just gotta get rid of this device. Well, do I have to get rid of that device? Let me see. Yeah, I do. Okay, so that would be I have to give it a different name. Well, no, actually. Parameter netdev expects a network backend ID. Which one exactly? This netdev is not actually a thing. Using networking mode empty. So what parameter netdev are you talking about? I guess I should just like manually get rid of these. They don't exist, they're not used. Yeah. How can I do that? Oh, wait. Oh, I said dump after. Yeah. Oh, that's the netdev that it's talking about. Okay. Oh, all right, there we go. Okay, perfect. So now this script is configurable. It's pretty nice. Doesn't have to make the same changes to the Raspberry Pi one because it only has one GPU and it doesn't have networking. Both the hardware one and the QEMU one. Although the QEMU one doesn't have networking at all. The hardware one just doesn't have a driver. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And okay, the bug that is happening is clearly happening in main as well. Is it happening on this computer, I wonder? I mean, probably. See, in this one, networking works, so... Oh, shit. I hard-coded an error because I needed a screenshot of it for a video. Okay, now it's running. Run a picture adjuster, run a picture adjuster, run a picture adjuster. Here it works fine. What the actual fuck? Let me pull the latest changes. And make run. Wait, make clean. Make run. Use net true. And there's a picture adjuster, there's a picture adjuster, there's a picture adjuster. The problem is only happening on this computer. Amazing. Well, look at the bright side, I guess. My code is working. It's just crashing on this computer for whatever reason. All right, I'm gonna test this better when I'm not streaming from a different computer, because otherwise you can't really see what I'm doing. Okay, well, there are works on my laptop. I'm gonna ship the entire laptop, like Docker did. That's literally what Docker did. Docker was like, oh, it works on your computer? Ship your damn computer. Ship the entire thing. Fuck it. Okay, I think I'm gonna end the stream because mostly I'm not even feeling that bad anymore. I don't feel like I'm dying anymore, but my nose is making it hard to speak. I feel like my voice is very nasal and it's not helping. Also, it's hard to breathe. Every time I speak, then I'm like, and then I start speaking again. So, yeah, amazing. I was sick last week. I'm sick again. C'est la vie. Probably just never got fully better, and now it's just hitting me again. But then that's gonna be the end of the stream today at 11:11. It ends, although my computer says 23:11, but it's 11:11, so it's always pretty cool. And okay, so implemented inter-process communication today. It works. There's another crash that's happening, but it works. There's another crash happening with the cat process. But that's just because my dog doesn't like cats, so he probably sabotaged it. That's probably on him. But this whole thing is working. This whole thing is working. So do I move it to the done column? Just doing a giant graphic Jira board over here. Fuck it. We're doing Jira now. Font size XL. Can I make it bigger than this? Yes. There, done column. We're also gonna make it green, obviously. And on Friday, I'm gonna continue working. I don't know what to work on yet. There's customization. There's networked communication. There's testing. Oh, this is done too. Hey, look at that. A simple read-write virtual file system functions. There's buffer overflow detection. That's going to be a tough one. I don't even know how to do it. It doesn't work at all on your computer. That's about right. Sounds about right, yeah. I'm going to have to look at it. That's why I'm working on a different branch, because right now, both of the things that I worked on this branch, which is the cat command and inter-process communication, are not working well. So there's that. Again, this is also technically done, because this was always there. Syscalls, I haven't actually made any changes. They're just part of the overall architecture of the system. Crashes on load sometimes. Yeah, that was always a thing. Can actually see how this can be a simple, better than a simple checklist or Kanban board. No, I don't know. At the very least, if you could put them inside of oh, main crashes for you? Oh. Oh, okay. Well, have you considered not using it? Just is my kernel not going to have an AI module? On April Fools, it's gonna stand for April, so that's the A, and I is Roman numerals for 1, so April 1st, April Fools. That's the only AI module I ever plan on having. I'm gonna write that down because I'm 100% gonna do that on April 1st, but it's gonna be a few months, so I'm gonna forget. Genius idea right there. It's a Wednesday, so I don't know if I'm gonna be streaming on that Wednesday, but I'm actually writing it down. And there we have it. It's gonna remind me about it. Okay, that was stupid as shit, but whatever. Yeah, so all these are done. This would actually be an interesting way of doing to-dos. At the very least, if you could put each of these things into their own, you know, collections or tickets or whatever. And then if you want to, you can collapse them. So next time, I could work on distributed file system. I could work on unit testing. I could work on modular kernel modules. Or I could work on system customization. This is the most likely option because it's nice to have. An interesting thing, now that I'm on this, what phase am I in? Not sure what the phases are, but system is doing pretty well. Now I need to work on stability, but also like architectural stuff. So that's where I'm at right now. So here, yesterday I was planning all the architecture of the system, what it's going to be like. And today I'm starting to implement it. But I have a few crashes to fix. Maybe if I'm not dying in bed throughout the week, I'll have time to fix them. Like I said, I'm planning on implementing this theme stuff, so configuration and whatnot. But so configuration files for how the system is going to be loaded and whatnot, but also about windowing. I was planning on having like an infinite canvas type of thing. So kind of like this one, right? So already you can draw windows and then have the processes inside the windows, but you can also scroll infinitely. If you don't, you know, go to the auto monitor, then you can just scroll back to your. So I was wondering if I should implement something like that into my system. Because since you can draw windows, it's already kind of a thing that you can do. I mean, it would seem like the next logical step. So I want to work on these windows. I want to work on these windows. 2 different crashes. What do those addresses correspond to? If the crash handler itself doesn't give you full information, which I should fix that. Not sure how to fix it, but I should fix it. It's literally just an if condition. I just need to figure out what to put inside that condition, and then it'll work. I'll have to read the dwarf file format to know probably. But you should be able to get most likely the first one's address. The second one is probably a crash that happened after the first one, as a result of the first one. But yeah, anyway, I'll have to look into these crashes during the week if I have time. Well, I'll have time. It's just a matter if I have energy. But yeah, I was thinking of having something like this, that you can have multiple desktops by just scrolling. It's not even that you have to do it by scrolling. You could just do it like multiple desktops, like a lot of systems have multiple desktops, like even... How do you do multiple desktops on Mac? There's a button for it. I just don't know what it's like on this keyboard. But yeah, most systems nowadays, I think, have multiple desktops. You could do that, but it would also, on top of letting you see like your desktop like this, also just let you scroll. Backtrace gives a lot of math.h. Yeah, you don't want... If that happens, that's the if condition that I need to fix. I just need to figure out what the if condition is. You most likely want to go inside make debug and then info line. That will tell you the actual line, because that one actually works. Okay, so that is my plan for Windows system. Window tiling, window management. That is the way that my window manager is gonna work. Somewhat like Infinite Tiles, which, having implemented several terrain generators, I should handle tiling gracefully. Should being the keyword here. But okay. So I'm gonna add it to the list actually. And okay, so there's a possibility of working on customization. There's a possibility of working on the infinite scroll. There's a possibility of working on the distributed file system. Though I don't have a whole lot of interest in working on this one until I have a networking driver for the Pi, because then it's going to be useful. And until the system is more stable. I could work on a bootloader, or I could work on modular kernel drivers. Most likely first the drivers and then the bootloader, or I could work on unit testing. All these are things that I want to implement in November and December, and however long it takes to, you know, redefine the entire architecture of my operating system. However long that takes. This essentially is just my plan for the next months. We'll see. But that's the end of the stream today. I'm gonna lay down, finally. Actually, I'm gonna have dinner, because I haven't done that. And then I'm gonna lay down. And I might or might not die. Probably not, but you never know. So if I'm still alive on Friday, I will stream at the same time as today. I'm liking streaming at 7:30. I'm enjoying it. Because before I used to have like 2.5 hours in between when I'm done with work and when I start streaming, which is like a really awkward time. Now I have 1.5 hours, which is just enough time to get stuff done, rest a little bit, and then stream. So I prefer it a lot more. So I'm going to be streaming at 7:30 CET, Central European Time, for Western European people, 7:30, for UK people, which are technically also Western European, but a little more, then 6:30 p.m. For everyone else, you can do your translation from that, and I will see you then.